It was about 4 o'clock when Joshua, my best friend, started banging on my front door. It was the first day of grade 8 for the both of us, and we had agreed to walk to school together. This in and of itself was fine. What wasn't fine was that it was 4 in the morning and I hadn't slept all that well last night, mostly due to my nerves about the first day of high school. Regardless, I went downstairs dressed in Batman pajamas and opened the door to my impatient friend, to which he, without so much as a hello, walked right in. He walked over to the stairway leading to the second floor and just kind of stared at me blankly for a moment or two. At this point, I realized what he was wearing: an old gray t-shirt and a pair of sweats with a big hole in one knee. This was odd, as he's usually very well dressed, but I didn't think much of it. At this point, I was tired and annoyed. I got sick of the staring contest and finally broke the silence. "What the hell are you doing here, dude?" He shook his head a little, as if waking up from a trance, and then gave me a little grin.
"Alex, there's this cool place I found in the woods by my house. It's this little clearing in the forest, and in the middle is this rundown little shack. I was thinking we could do some filming there."
Me and Joshua had big dreams of being directors when we got older, and we're always looking for different places to film one of our many projects. Under normal circumstances, this would have immediately piqued my interest, but at the moment, I just wanted to go back to bed. "Ugh, that's great, dude. You can show me after school today. Now if you'll..."
"No, dude, we have to go right now."
I shot him a look like, "You drunk?" But the look in his eye told me that he wasn't going to give up. Fine, I'll go. I decided to relent to the nonsense. Joshua only lived about 5 minutes away, so I figured we'd head over there, I'd take a quick look around, and then I'd come back and go to bed. I ran upstairs and whipped on a pair of blue jeans and a ratty black shirt. It was pretty warm out this time of year around where I live, so a jacket wasn't necessary. During the whole walk over to Joshua's house, we barely talked. Sometimes it would feel like he wasn't there at all. I'd sometimes hear him mumbling to himself. It was something I was used to from him, so I didn't pay it much mind. Just a weird quirk he had. We got to the edge of the woods and both stared into the darkness. I got chills all up and down my back, as the shadows almost seemed to reach out from the trees, like they were grabbing at us. I looked over at Joshua, who had a big, ear-to-ear grin across his face. "You ready to go?" The way he asked that, he was elated to even be this close to wherever he was taking me. It honestly creeped me out a little. Yeah, sure. At this point, this was starting to feel like a bad idea. I couldn't quite place why, but something felt off. Joshua clearly noticed the apprehension in my face.
"Dude, am I freaking you out? Sorry, it's just... this place is perfect for this idea I had, and I don't want to lose it by the time school ends. But we can turn back if you want, though."
No man, it's fine. We can keep going. The truth is, I had done similar things to Joshua for pretty much the exact same reason, and he always went along with it without so much as a complaint. Such as one time when he came on a family trip with me, and we went and wrote the Japanese character for death all over a wall for a shot I wanted, so I really had no right to complain. As such, we started into the woods. We walked for about 10 minutes, and we again barely talked the entire time. It was like we had no idea what to say to each other, almost as if we were strangers to one another. I was about to say something to break the tension, but then he spoke up. "We're here." I came out of my thoughts and looked up. Finally, I could see what all the fuss was about. However, there was no clearing in front of me. I scanned back and forth, but all that I could see was thick forest. I was confused and annoyed as I realized that this was all some kind of prank or practical joke. In an attempt to hide my frustration, I worked up a little smirk and started turning around. All right, you've had your fun." I stopped mid-sentence because Joshua is now standing right in front of me, to the point where I could feel his breath on my face. His eyes were almost dead, and his mouth was just kind of hanging open. Hey, you mind backing up a little? A grin formed across his face. The same face he was making when we first got to the woods. At this point, I was actually starting to feel really uncomfortable. And what he said next only sealed that.
He wants you.
I took a few steps back, not really sure what to make of the situation. All I knew was that something was terribly wrong. Who wants me? What are you talking about? He looked like he was about to say something, but then just started laughing. Like he was about to tell me a joke and was laughing at the mere thought of it. Despite the fact that he was standing right in front of me, it felt like he wasn't there. Like he'd never been there. I remembered. Joshua hadn't been there for a while. A whole year, actually. Every muscle in my body tensed. It was like every synapse in my brain was screaming, "Run." I took off back the way we came. I was in a full-on sprint. Branches hit me in the face and I nearly tripped. I ran harder and harder. The only thought on my mind was escape. All the while I heard footsteps. Not my own. Right behind me. Joshua was chasing. I was sure. I ran further and further, to the point where I could hardly breathe, and my vision was starting to get fuzzy. Eventually, I just couldn't run anymore and collapsed onto the cold forest floor. It was silent. The only thing I could hear was my own breath, and the light rustle of leaves in the breeze. I lay there for what felt like an eternity, my thoughts racing, thinking about Joshua, about getting home. Eventually, I gathered my strength and pulled myself up. I looked around, and my heart sank. This looked like nothing where Joshua and I had entered the forest. In fact, the woods almost seemed thicker, darker. I got onto my feet. With no other option, I picked a direction and started. As I walked on, the air became colder and colder. Soon enough, I could see my own breath as it drifted lazily from my mouth and dissipated before my eyes, like a ghost barely hanging on to reality. And then I heard the soft crunch of snow below my foot. I looked up to see snowflakes drifting solemnly to the ground. I tried to keep up my pace, but the cold and my fatigue were getting to me. I looked down at my watch. It had been 4 hours since I'd gotten here. And then I heard something like a voice. I turned around again, peering through the trees. At first I couldn't see anything, but as I looked closer I saw a faded yellow glow. 2 eyes. Something was watching me. I stared at it for a while. I felt sleepy, but warm. I felt like walking towards it, but then I stopped. I shook my head a little and looked back. It was gone. I regained my composure and kept moving forward. I kept moving. I didn't look back. Everything was telling me I couldn't. I started to push myself harder. I trudged through the snow. The wind picked up. The snowflakes started pelting against my face like hundreds of needles piercing my skin. It became darker. The wind howled through the trees. Each step was harder than the last. I couldn't move. I could barely breathe. My knees gave out, and I fell to the ground. I remained still, shivering, my mind filling with longful thoughts of home, my family, my bed. A warm hand caressed my face. My head shot up, almost on its own. In front of me was a clearing, a field surrounded by trees and blanketed in a cover of white snow. In the middle was a little shack. run down but inviting. Next to it stood a figure, like a shadow in a dark, tattered, and worn cloak. His piercing yellow eyes were staring right into mine. I brought myself to my feet and began to walk towards him. I walked without thought, without feeling, without reason. I came up next to him, and he put his hand on my shoulder.
You're safe now.
He brought me to the door of the little shack. He motioned me towards it. As I opened the door, I felt warm, safe. I felt calm and energized. I felt happy. I'm standing in the front entrance of a house, and I'm looking at someone. Missy. She was a friend of mine. I looked at the clock. It was 4 a.m. I'm here to show her something. To show her the cool spot I found in the woods.